This is college football on ABC Sports.
ABC Sports welcomes you to Jones SBC Stadium in Lubbock, Texas. A sellout crowd of more than 50,000 on hand to watch the number 3 team in the land, Oklahoma, take on the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. Oklahoma is still in control in the Big 12 South. The Sooners and Texas Longhorns have one loss apiece, but Oklahoma beat Texas. So if the Sooners win out against Tech today and Oklahoma State next week, the Sooners will play in the conference championship game. The Longhorns' remaining game is at Texas A&M next week here on ABC Sports. We'll have the opening kickoff from Lubbock in just a moment, but first, John Saunders and Terry Bowden at Times Square Stadium. Lubbock number 3, Oklahoma and Texas Tech just about ready for the opening kickoff. I'm Sean McDonough along with Ed Cunningham. Delighted to have you with us. This Oklahoma defense is certainly on a roll. They have not allowed the opposing offense a touchdown in the last 2 victories over Tulsa and Texas A&M. And Ed, they might have the best linebacker and the best defensive back in the country.
It's a little unfair, isn't it? Rocky Kalmus, a unanimous All-American last year. He's having the same type season. 3rd year in a row that he's had over 100 tackles. And the best part about Rocky is you don't have to take him out on passing downs. He runs very well. Perhaps the best player in all of college football is Roy Williams. He may not get an invitation to New York for the Heisman, Sean, but a lot of people think he deserves one.
That defense will be tested today against Texas Tech. The Red Raiders averaging 35 points per game, and Coach Mike Leach thinks his quarterback might be the best in the country, Cliff Kingsbury.
He's certainly one of the top ones in the conference. Very good, very efficient. He's had great games against good opponents. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he will move around in the pocket. Eyes always downfield. He's got 6 receivers sometimes to look for. He has been fantastic against good competition this year. Nearly 70% completion and 5 touchdowns. Although, Sean, I think this may be the best defense of the bunch he's faced all season.
Down on the sidelines, here's Leslie Goodell.
Sean, Mike Leach is one of the more unique college football coaches in the game. He has a law degree from Pepperdine, and he says he sees a lot of parallels between law and football. They're both analytical, they're both confrontational, they take a lot of paperwork, and there's never enough time to prepare. Away from the game, he recently took up surfing. He learned to surf in Los Angeles 3 years ago. He's been on family trips to go surfing, been to Maui, but it's tough to find a good wave in Lubbock.
Indeed it is, Leslie. Oklahoma won the toss and deferred. Texas Tech elected to receive the opening kickoff, so Tim Duncan will kick it off for Oklahoma, the senior from Clinton, Oklahoma. Ivory McCann, the true freshman, one of the most exciting return men in the country, back deep to receive the kickoff. In their season opener against New Mexico, he fielded one 8 yards deep in the end zone, started to run it out. The crowd groaned, but then they were cheering when he took it 108 yards for a touchdown. Will he try it again from about 8 yards deep? Yes, he will. And he slips down on this wet artificial surface near the 15-yard line. They've had a lot of rain here the last few days, and this field is slippery. The chance for more rain here today. The game begins with 59-degree temperatures, a 10-mile-per-hour breeze, and overcast skies overhead. Cliff Kingsbury, the junior, in his 2nd year as the starter. He set 13 Texas Tech records last year. This season has passed for more than 2,900 yards, completed 68% of his passes. His coach, Mike Leach, says he is the best quarterback in the Big 12. And when you think about Eric Crouch and Chris Sims, among others, that's a big statement. But Mike Leach says the numbers speak for themselves. Movement along the line.
I believe they're going to get Tommy Harris, the freshman nose guard for Oklahoma. Made contact with the center, Toby Cecil, before the snap.
The Texas Tech backs and receivers, Ricky Williams, with 70 receptions. Once one of the top rushers in the country, now an outstanding receiver. They start with 3 wide receivers and Cole Roberts, the tight end. Welker, an Oklahoma native, who was not recruited highly by the Sooners. On 1st and 5, Kingsbury, a quick pass. That's Mickey Peters with a first down across the 30-yard line. Now the offensive line for Texas Tech. Loper, Hyder, who's the leader of the offensive line, Cecil, Richards, and Keck. Keck will play both tackle and guard today. First and 10 from the 30, and the pass batted down by Jimmy Wilkerson. Every member of the Oklahoma defense got a game ball after they shut down A&M last week, held the Aggies to 5 first downs. But Bob Stoops singled out Jimmy Wilkerson for a particularly strong game with 8 tackles. He's part of the defensive front with Tommy Harris, the true freshman, Klein, and Heineke. The linebackers, the speedy Teddy Lehman in the middle with Kalmus, the Butkus Award finalist, and Brandon Moore. Perkins, Everidge, Williams, and Strait the secondary. We'll see a lot of 5 and 6 defensive back sets. Ricky Williams out of bounds at the 35-yard line. A gain of 5. Roy Williams made the tackle.
Ricky Williams, a guy who's had to totally change his outlook, was a running back in Spike Dykes' old system, had over 1,500 yards back in 1998. He had a severe knee injury in '99. He's fit in very well to this system, and Roy Williams, a guy that Oklahoma will move all around. Now he's over to the left side. Watch for heat coming from him.
On 3rd and 5, Kingsbury has it batted down and intercepted. Corey Klein picked it off. Roy Williams putting pressure on the quarterback Kingsbury. Deflected it.
And Roy Williams did come on a block, but such a nice job right here at the top of your screen. He sees the flare pass, so he stops his rush, reads the eyes of Kingsbury. What an athletic play, and another athletic play by a big defensive lineman to go up and catch that in Corey Klein. But really, Sean, it's just the recognition of Roy Williams. He sees things so well. He was coming on an all-out blitz, stopped, put the brakes on, got up and got a hand on and made a huge play for Oklahoma.
First interception for Corey Klein, as you might expect, a sophomore from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So here's Nate Hibble, coming off a terrific second half last week against A&M when he completed 14 out of 16. They open with 4 wide receivers. Actually 3 in the tight end. Trent Smith split out, as he often is. And the handoff to Quentin Griffin, tackled by Jonathan Hawkins, the senior outside linebacker, number 47. Hibble on a hot streak, 59% for the season, but over the last 2 games against Tulsa and Texas A&M, he's completed 73% of his passes while throwing for 542 yards. He's a junior from Hazelhurst, Georgia.
A little bit of a slow start against A&M. He called his first half gross. Chuck Long, the quarterback's coach, said it was a problem with his mechanics, just wasn't getting himself set.
Hibble throws, and the receiver slipped down again on the wet turf. He was looking for Mark Clayton, the redshirt freshman. He's the number 3 receiver for Oklahoma this season. Griffin a dual threat as a runner and a receiver. They start the game with 3 wide receivers and the tight end Smith, who leads the team with 52 catches this year. Up front, Romero has not allowed a sack this season. Allowed only 2 last year. Duncan, the true freshman, Carter, Skinner, and Fields. The rest of the front 5 for Coach Bob Stoops. 3rd down and 8. The Sooners trying to capitalize on the turnover. The blitz well picked up by the line. Hibble throws back across the middle. Incomplete, looking for Mark Clayton. He was fortunate that wasn't picked off.
Spoke with Greg McMacken, the defensive coordinator for Texas Tech, before the ball game, and he said that was his plan early against Hibble because of the struggles that he's had early in ball games, getting himself into the flow. He wanted to bring pressure. This time, double 8-gap blitz. Oklahoma does a nice job of picking it up, but it requires Hibble to move out of the pocket. Sean, we saw this against A&M. This can be a very dangerous throw. He's got to be careful.
Tim Duncan has made 8 straight field goals. This will be a 42-yard try. Matt McCoy, the holder. Long enough. And good. Tim Duncan, who rushed for a touchdown last week against Texas A&M on a fake field goal, picks a 3-pointer, and the Sooners have a 3-0 lead. The Sooners lead 3-0. Perhaps a moral victory for Texas Tech, holding the Sooners to the 3 points after the turnover. Duncan splits the uprights again, this time with the kickoff. That's about the only way Ivory McCann won't try to run one back for Texas Tech. ABC Sports presentation of college football brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, longest lasting trucks on the road. By Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. By America's Dairy Farmers, the power of cheese. And by Circuit City, we know how you feel, that's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you. Big weekend on the Texas Tech campus. Last night, Bob Knight made his Red Raider debut as coach. And a win against William & Mary. Ricky Williams dragging Corey Heineke for a ride before the defensive end got Ricky down on the carpet at the 28-yard line. A gain of 8 for Williams, who really has made the transformation. Ed, when Spike Dykes was the coach here, was a running attack, and Ricky was one of the top rushers in the nation. Now it's a passing attack, and he's one of the top pass receivers.
It still shows he's got that power, that little middle trap, dragging a couple of tackles.
Just a 4-man rush. Kingsbury out in the flat for Williams, who started the day with 70 career receptions, and he ran into Roy Williams again. 70 receptions this season for Ricky Williams entering today's game, the senior from Duncanville, Texas. And there is the transformation we were talking about.
And this kind of versatility, he's not the biggest guy in the world, and he has that leg injury that he blew his knee out. But that kind of versatility, Sean, that will raise a lot of eyes by NFL scouts, because that's the numbers of a third down back.
Blitz, pass caught. Williams trying to run away from Roy Williams. And Roy had help from Brandon Everidge to knock Ricky Williams out of bounds. But it's a first down, a good call against the blitz. And the Red Raiders will have it 1st and 10 near the 40-yard line.
And Mike Leach, who operates as his own offensive coordinator, worked under Hal Mummy for a long time. He said one of the fun things to do in this game is figure out what works. That time Roy Williams was in on the slot receiver, Wes Welker. And as he goes in on the slant, you mentioned the blitz coming from the outside, him and Kingsbury thinking on the same page. There comes the heat. You know they can't cover Williams in the flat.
Whistles before the errant snap. Randy Crystal, the referee, leading this Big 12 officiating crew.
Prior to the snap, illegal snap on the offense. It'll be a 5-yard penalty and remain 1st down.
Leslie Goodell told you about Mike Leach, the 40-year-old who is in his 2nd season as head coach here after 1 year with Bob Stoops as the offensive coordinator. He put in the Sooners offense that they still run. The offenses are very similar, as Coach Leach and the Oklahoma coaches said. Oklahoma tries to run the ball a lot more than Texas Tech does. That's the major difference. Texas Tech almost exclusively a throwing team. Here's Ricky Williams in the flat. And another thing we've seen right away is that Roy Williams is going to be chasing Ricky all over the place, and that a lot of these players are being affected by this slick turf, still wet after the heavy rains of the last few days.
I took a walk down on the field before the game, because usually AstroTurf, if you give it about 8 hours, it'll soak through, but it was dry on top. But if you kicked your foot, water came up from underneath, and I'm wondering if these teams don't need to go in at halftime and get longer studs on the end of their turf sheets.
2nd and long. Mickey Peters across the middle and shoved out of bounds by Teddy Lehman. Peters is a sophomore from Weatherford, Texas, coming off a huge game last week up at Oklahoma State. He had 10 receptions in that game against the Cowboys for 100 yards receiving.
The outset of this game, Cliff Kingsbury says most teams, if you look at our yards per completion, they're pretty low. It's because they see a lot of zone defense. Well, right now, Mike Stoops, the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma, rushing 4. Now he's got a 3-man line, trying to keep everything underneath. And Kingsbury doing a really nice job of reading exactly what he's getting from Oklahoma.
They reset the play clock as the center Cecil turned to listen to Kingsbury. The ball started rolling away. Quick pass caught by Peters, and he is stopped very close to a 1st down. He appears to be short by about a yard near the 48-yard line. Matt McCoy, a reserve defensive back, will play a lot today in the 5 and 6 DB sets. Made the tackle with Teddy Lehman.
Well, and it looks like Mike Leach took a long time to decide if he wanted to punt this or not, Sean. I think if he would have got maybe a little better spot, he would have thought about it. Of course, in this offense, the yard is really nothing, but I think this is a wise decision. Go with a little muddle huddle over here to make Oklahoma cover it, but punt this ball away and play defense.
Curtis Fagan waiting for the punt from Clinton Grayhouse, the junior from Roswell, New Mexico. Tried Brandon Jones last week, but he mishandled a couple of punts early in the game, and Fagan went back to return all subsequent punts. He let that one hit. That was one of the criticisms they had about Brandon Jones last week. And it cost Oklahoma some yardage. The ball out of bounds at the 14. 3-0 Oklahoma. Still early in the first quarter and fired up Lubbock.
Get up the swing mark.
Back in Lubbock, Texas, they're renovating Jones SBC Stadium. It'll increase the capacity in time for next year. These two teams are playing in a construction site and a sellout crowd on hand. A lot of Sooner fans have made the trip. About a 7-hour drive down from Norman. A lot of these Oklahoma players and coaches know that for a fact, because when they played here 2 years ago and lost by 10 points, their charter had mechanical problems and they got on buses and bussed back about 7 hours. Hibble throws for Josh Norman. Couldn't break the tackle at the 19-yard line. A 5-yard gain on first down. Jonathan Hawkins made another stop.
Greg McMacken, that's only one of 2 seniors that he starts on this defense. After the Kansas game, when they played very poorly and they weren't making the kind of progress they wanted to make, they took a young defense, made it even younger. They inserted a true freshman in at defensive tackle, Clayton Harmon. They moved in Ryan Aycock into the free safety position, or strong safety, so that Curtis could move to free safety. And they've been on a tear since those changes.
They've won 4 out of 5. The only loss by 10 points at Nebraska. It was a tight game all the way up in Lincoln. Hibble looks to throw quickly again and does. The catch made a yard short of the first down. A little low for Norman, so he couldn't stay on his feet and run for the first down. An interesting story. Greg McMacken really didn't know Mike Leach very well before he joined him here in Lubbock. They had met at a couple of clinics. When they approached Greg McMacken, who was at Hawaii with June Jones for that one magical turnaround season with the Rainbows, they told him he could put in his own defensive package here, hire the defensive coaches. He liked what he heard about the direction of the program and the facilities, and he came from Hawaii to Lubbock. Hibble on a rollout as a man wide open. Big hit delivered by Ryan Aycock. But Josh Norman has another catch and a first down out across the 25-yard line. They told us Aycock was a big hitter, and we certainly saw it on that play.
They were inserted. The younger guys were inserted. Here's a little play fake by Oklahoma, because they brought a little better attitude, improved the team chemistry of the Red Raiders on defense. But Sean, early on, I really like the play calling of Mark Mangino and Chuck Long over on the Oklahoma sideline. We saw the struggle Nate Hibble had early in the game against A&M. All of these very easy throws, short throws, because his problem is he couldn't get his feet set mechanically. He made the right reads. He was just late.
Mangino said the whole offense was out of sync in that first half. Bad block, a poorly run route. That's Trent Smith, the tight end, with his team-leading 53rd reception of the season, and that gives him 100 now for his Oklahoma career. He's the 5th Sooner to reach 100 career receptions. Lawrence Flugents made the tackle with Paul McClendon.
And they list Trent Smith as a tight end. Josh Norman probably getting away with a hold there on Kevin Curtis that got the edge for Trent Smith. But Smith is such a fine route runner. That time he just flared out as the 2 outside receivers ran off the coverage. But he really is the best route runner, and at 6'5", 220 pounds, he can really get open against. If you put a linebacker out there, you're in trouble.
First and 10, a high pass, incomplete off the hands of Mark Clayton. Monday night, the New York Giants traveled to the Twin Cities for a rematch of last season's NFC Championship game. Randy Moss and the Vikings looking for a chance to climb back into the playoff race and avenge that loss to the Giants in the NFC Championship game. First, they'll have to get past Michael Strahan and that terrific New York defense. Monday Night Football, live at 9 Eastern, right here on ABC Sports. Second and 10. Sooners at their own 44. Low snap. Hibble had trouble picking it up. And he just did get back across the line of scrimmage. He was upended by Jonathan Hawkins, who's off to a good start. And always off to a good start, our man John Saunders back at Times Square Stadium.
Well, Sean, for Kentucky, this has been a good start and finish thus far against Tennessee. Jared Lorenzen here on the Burger King update to Anthony Kelly. This after Tennessee had just taken their first lead of the game. It ties it at 35 apiece. Kentucky at one point led 21-0. Sean.
And of course, Mike Leach was a member of that Kentucky staff under Hal Mumme.
Fight song, here we go, fight song.
Prior to joining the Oklahoma staff for 1 year.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Timeout called by Oklahoma with a 3rd and long upcoming.
Up there.
Back in Lubbock, Texas. Still overcast skies, but it has not rained since the game began. We're midway through the first quarter. Oklahoma leads 3-0. They capitalized on an interception, kicked a field goal.
And Oklahoma really offensively going up against a Texas Tech defense that last year, a lot of people talked about Texas Tech's offense, but Texas Tech was a top 20 defense last year. They lost 8 starters. Greg McMackin has done a fantastic job with some of these young players. And, really that 2-yard, the field goal drive was only 2 yards. They held up after the turnover.
3rd down and 10. Sooners at their own 44. 5-man rush. Forcing Hibble back, and he throws it away. Ryan Aycock, the safety, came on a blitz. And the Sooners will punt.
Greg McMackin has done a really nice job of forcing Mark Mangino's hands. They're starting to have to go with max protection. You mentioned it was a 5-man rush, Sean. That extra blitzer left a receiver in, and it allowed double coverage on Trent Smith. A really nice job of bringing the pressure, but still having coverage behind it.
Wes Welker, the Oklahoma City native, back for the punt from Jeff Ferguson, the senior from Tulsa. Having a terrific year, averaging just under 44 yards per punt. Heavy rush, and they block it. Nehemiah Glover, a redshirt freshman wide receiver, broke through and blocked it out of bounds at the 27-yard line.
And it was a bad snap by Ben Painter. It got to the right place. It was just awful slow. He threw a flutterer back there and allowed Glover to come. Watch on the right side. He's going to come from outside, right underneath. The outside blocker is number 7, Brandon Everidge, the starting free safety. He overset to the outside, and a really, really nice job of Glover getting back underneath of that, but a slow snap was the start of the problems for Oklahoma.
Once Everidge tried to adjust, he slipped. Couldn't get back to block Glover on the draw. The inside handoff to Ricky Williams, and it did not fool Dusty Dvorak, the true freshman from Lake Dallas, Texas. Missed some time earlier this season with a staph infection in his foot. He returned last week.
And Dvorak, another true freshman along the lines of Tommy Harris, guys that when they got here, they weren't sure how well they would adjust to Division I-A football coming from college, and they've done a fantastic job in the middle, both him and Harris.
The first punt that Ferguson has had blocked this season. He had 3 blocked last year. Now it's 7 blocked in his career. Kingsbury stepped away from the rush, and a big hit by Roy Williams put on Mickey Peters. A very short gain on the play to the 25-yard line. A hard-earned gain of 2 for Peters.
Boy, Roy Williams is such a spectacular athlete. You know, a lot of people think he's just a strong safety. He's going to be up around the line of scrimmage. He does such a nice job in every part of the game. This, he's just dropped off in zone, reading Kingsbury's eyes, not a fumble there, but such a hard hitter and such a smooth athlete. A lot of times, Sean, guys that can strike like that, they're not real fluid in coverage. That's not the case with Mr. Williams.
3 receivers to the left. Kingsbury out of the gun, just a 3-man rush. And he has a receiver. First down, Anton Page. The junior from Royal Palm Beach, Florida, in his first season here at Tech. After 2 at Northwest Mississippi Junior College, where he was a first-team junior college All-American last year with 64 catches and 18 touchdowns to lead the nation.
Mike Stoops, the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma, talked about Kingsbury being a lot like Josh Heupel, that you won't run around a lot, but he just takes those little side steps, just enough time to get out of the way of the rush. A good rush by Oklahoma, but great patience by Kingsbury.
He's hit on 7 straight passes now, 8 out of 10 for the game. 1st and 10 from the 14-yard line. Over the middle. The ball incomplete. In and out of the hands of Cole Roberts. And it was a hit by Brandon Everidge that helped knock the ball out. Kingsbury in his junior year, just 4 career touchdown passes behind their all-time leader, Robert Hall. So he will shatter that mark, assuming that he stays healthy. He's already #1 in Tech history in career pass attempts, completions, 300-yard games. He's had 9 of those. 400-yard games. He's had 4 of those, including last week with 440 against Oklahoma State. 2nd and 10 from the 14. Sun comes out and the flags are flying. They might have taken too long to get it off.
5-yard penalty and remains 2nd down.
The one thing that Mike Leach talks about when you talk about his quarterback Kingsbury, he mentions how he's a relentless in preparation for games. He tries to see everything. He knows what's coming. Very familiar with this defense. This is the 3rd time that he's played against Oklahoma in the Bob Stoops system, so he knows what kind of things they're going to try to do. And obviously Stoops and his staff smart enough to add a couple of wrinkles into the ball game when you're playing against a guy who's this smart.
2 receivers to the right. They're down to 1 second on the play clock, and again they didn't get it off. Apparently he wanted Ricky Williams to go in motion, and Ricky didn't realize he was supposed to.
Prior to the snap, delay, it's a 5-yard penalty and it remains 2nd down.
Back-to-back delay of game penalties against Texas Tech.
Bob Stoops is trying to, as he sees Kingsbury checking off, he's doing the same. He's trying to get to his defense because he sees what things are starting to happen on the field to have them adjust to what Kingsbury is trying to adjust to.
Now 2nd and 20. At the 24-yard line, Kingsbury hit as he throws. It's complete to Ricky Williams. Banged out of bounds by Roy Williams. Brandon Shelby put the pressure on the quarterback. Here's John Saunders at Times Square Stadium.
Crucial game for Miami, #2 in the BCS standings, facing Syracuse, team that's won 8 straight. Ken Dorsey, 22 yards to Andre Johnson, and they have what they didn't have last week, an offensive touchdown. Miami leads Syracuse 10-0.
8 straight wins for Syracuse. 3rd down and 19. Kingsbury throws short again. Williams lost the ball. It's still in play and now rolls out of bounds. Matt McCoy knocked it out of the hands of Ricky Williams. The play wasn't going very far anyway, but Tech very fortunate that it went out of bounds. And they're in long field goal range. They lost a yard on the fumble, perhaps even 2. It would be about a 42-yard try.
Sean, this is about what happened last year to Texas Tech against Oklahoma. They had 7 trips in the first half on the plus side of the 45. 2 interceptions, 2 ended on downs, a punt, and 2 field goal attempts, one of which was missed. When you get down in there, those 2 penalties awfully costly, making this a very long field goal.
Robert Trace trying a 42-yarder from the left hash mark into the breeze, going between 5 and 10 miles per hour. And it is good. Robert Trace continuing his amazing season now. 10 out of 13 for the year in field goals. He was cut from the Tech football team 19 months ago. After some kickers struggled in preseason camp, they got on the phone to the coaches, called Trace up, told him to come back, try out again. He won the kicking contest in practice with about 90% accuracy, and he's had an outstanding season.
Can you imagine all the things you have to do as a coach, and then you come into the fall and you don't have a kicker and you have to call the guy up who you cut? That's Mike Leach. He came into a good situation that Spike Dykes left for him, but those are things that keep coaches up at night.
So each team has a 42-yard field goal. We're tied at 3, and it looked like Roy Williams might have injured himself. Looked like he stepped on somebody's foot on the sideline on that play. Chasing after the fumble, he rolled his right ankle there too.
Yes, he did. And you know, we've already got, Oklahoma already has one guy, Jason White, the victim of a turf injury. He, on a phantom plan of his foot, the backup quarterback who was starting against Nebraska, blew out his knee, had ACL repaired on Monday in surgery. So they don't need more AstroTurf injuries here at Oklahoma.
The punter, Grayhouse, kicks off. A good kick into the wind, deeper than the Sooners thought it was going to be. Antoine Savage and Curtis Fagan couldn't handle it. It rolled through the end zone. Well, this Tech football team is having a terrific season, but that isn't the only sports-related buzz around campus. Last night at United Spirit Arena, Bob Knight returned to the sidelines as the new head coach at Texas Tech. They rolled to a win over William & Mary, 75-55.
I like the enthusiasm that we've had. You know, hell, I even liked a lot of the enthusiasm after the Texas A&M football game.
From the 20, 1st and 10, and the handoff by Hibble to Quentin Griffin. And Lawrence Flugents made the tackle. Interesting, Ed. Beautiful new arena on campus. Seats about 15,000. It was announced crowd of 10,000. We were at the game. It looked like it was only about half full. But that's because those tickets for this tournament they're playing, the Red Raider Classic, were not a part of the season ticket package. They've almost sold out the arena for the year with season tickets, but didn't have the sellout last night. Some of the ticket holders a little bit upset about the extra cost of the game last night. Griffin out of the backfield, cut down short of the first down by Ricky Saylor, the cornerback. And it'll be 3rd down and about 3.
Mark Mangino, the offensive coordinator for Oklahoma. Early on, he's got a couple of guys running down the middle of the field, but Kevin Curtis and Ryan Aycock, the two safeties from Texas Tech, doing a great job running with anything in the middle of the field. And Hibble is also doing a nice job of coming to his checkdowns. It's not that they haven't run any deep routes, but Texas Tech is running stride for stride with every receiver as they break across the middle.
3-3 game, 4 minutes left in the first quarter. 3rd down and 3, Oklahoma from its own 27. Hibble's pass deflected and incomplete through the hands of Curtis Fagan. Three and out for the Oklahoma offense.
Texas Tech has to feel very good about themselves, Sean, defensively. Oklahoma, a lot of people have, the only complaint their fans have had is a little inconsistency on offense. They put up points, but they tend to have parts in games where they don't look great. But really, I think this is just a function of how well Texas Tech is playing on their side of the ball.
Ferguson had a punt block on his first attempt of the day. High wobbly snap from Ben Painter, and a line drive punt handled by Wes Welker, and he is buried at the 35-yard line. Will Peoples, the reserve wide receiver, with a nice hit. Friday ABC Sports Thanksgiving Feast is presented by Siemens. It kicks off at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, with the showdown Texas football fans have been waiting a year for. Number 6 Texas versus Texas A&M. Then at 3:30 Eastern, a trip to the Big 12 Championship will be on the line when Nebraska, top-ranked, battles number 14 Colorado. That's Friday. Great day after Thanksgiving feast right here on ABC Sports. Kingsbury flushed from the pocket. Has some room to run and goes to the 40 for a gain of 5. He ran for 24 yards at Oklahoma in their loss to the Sooners in Norman last year. He was their team's leading rusher with 24 yards on the ground.
There's Tommy Harris, a true freshman. They list him as a defensive tackle. He's really a nose guard. He lines up over the center. 18 years old. He started from the first moment he came onto campus. Has the ability, Sean. I mean, this guy is a future top 10 pick in the NFL, but really when you talk to the coaches, they say it's his maturity and how he handles everything that has really been the difference.
2nd and 5. 5-man rush. Kingsbury rolls away from it and throws it away. Teddy Lehman came on a blitz. Ricky Williams stayed in to pick him up.
Cliff Kingsbury stood on the sidelines back in '99. He got his first start against Oklahoma here, and he watched Josh Heupel go back and throw the ball 55 times, and he dreamed someday of playing in an offense like that. And of course, the next year he got his wish when Mike Leach brought that offense here to Texas Tech, and he is such a good fit. All the coaches here say he is a lot like Heupel, maybe even a little stronger arm.
Out of the gun on third down, man wide open, flag down, ball on the ground, and the Sooners have it at the 45-yard line. Now they're waving it as an incomplete pass. Wes Welker never had possession according to the officials. There's also a flag thrown to the offensive backfield in the area where you would anticipate a holding call against Texas Tech. Antonio Perkins knocked the ball out.
Sean, it looked like the side judge thought that that was a catch, and Rocky Calamus ran over there because as he was pursuing inside out, I think he saw that this was a catch. The umpire was the one who comes and waves this off. Oh, that's how in the world do you not call that a fumble? And Rocky Calamus saw that.
Holding on the offense. The penalties declined. Fourth down.
And the official across the field on Oklahoma sideline looked angry and confused that he was getting overridden by the middle official. But Rocky Calamus and Bob Stoops should be very upset. That was clearly a catch.
A big break for Texas Tech. Now they'll punt from the 39-yard line rather than have Oklahoma have the ball about that spot, 1st and 10. Clinton Greathouse to punt. Greathouse into the wind with a high punt. Fagan, the crowd thought he signaled for a fair catch, then tried to run with it. There is no flag. And very limited return for Fagan. Carlos Francis, a wide receiver, down to make the tackle. Well, that play reminds us of a play we saw last week in Norman. Texas Tech with an interception, and then the interceptor, Everett Smith, fumbled, but it was returned for a touchdown. And this is on the coach's film, and why the Oklahoma people were upset, they saw the official on the near sideline running in, waving the play dead, and the whistle was blowing. That's why the Sooners offense stopped. And Bob Stoops did make that known to the league office this week, and he'll have another film probably on the way to the league office this week after a terrible call. Should have been a fumble against Welker. Hibble forced to run, and he runs for a gain out to the 34-yard line. A gain of 6. It'll be 2nd down and 4.
Mentioned now Jason White had surgery on Monday to repair that torn ACL. When we talked to the coaches, Sean, they had a really good answer. I asked them about, against Texas A&M, they ran the quarterback a lot on design running plays, quarterback draws, options. And I said, are you concerned about Hibble taking shots? Because he does have the shoulder that he banged up against Texas, came up limp a couple times against A&M last week. But they said, you know, that's the only way we can really control in our 4 wide out system, just all out blitzes, so they have to keep that in their offense.
Ronaldo Works, who backs up Quentin Griffin, and he got nothing. Robert Wyatt, a backup defensive lineman, made the tackle for Texas Tech. It'll be 3rd down. And that's actually Mark Mangino had a very good explanation about the design runs for Hibble, in addition to trying to prevent the opponent from blitzing. He said Hibble, when he's running with the ball, is looking at who is coming at him and has a better chance to dodge hits or protect himself than he does in a passing situation where he might take a blindside blitz and really get hurt.
He can avoid it. He's got his eyes up. He sees where everybody's coming from. And I agree. I just think sometimes when he's out there running, he needs to think about sliding a little earlier as well.
Hibble with all day to throw against the 4-man rush. And Trent Smith wide open across midfield to the Red Raider 48-yard line. Lawrence Flugens made the tackle. That was a very tentative rush by Texas Tech, and hard to believe that they could leave Oklahoma's leading receiver got open, but they did for an 18-yard gain.
Once again, the same route he ran earlier in the game, just getting over there. There was confusion because the two outside receivers came across. That was Curtis Fagan and Josh Norman, and none of the coverage came underneath to get out into the flat. You have to figure that Flugents, the linebacker to that side, has coverage over there, and he got caught in the middle wash.
On 1st and 10 with the game tied at 3 in the first quarter. Flags thrown. Hibble runs. They'll mark him down at the 45, but there were a lot of amateur officials in the crowd who thought they spotted a holding call right when that flag came flying in from the near sideline.
Oh, they did. Aaron Hunt absolutely runs over the left tackle, Frank Romero. Romero keeps his sackless streak alive, but he gets called for holding. Aaron Hunt, a legitimate guy. Watch this battle over here. Aaron Hunt is 260 pounds, runs a 4.5. Look at the little shake and then into the body. And Romero, unfortunately, got his feet caught underneath of him, and that is definitely a hold.
And Hunt still got up and made the tackle. Greg McMacken was raving about Aaron Hunt. He said that he is a big-time player and definitely has a future in the NFL. Aaron's just a junior. He likely has another year left here in Lubbock. Romero still hasn't given up a sack. One way to keep that streak intact. Good tackle guy. Hibble goes for the quick throw.
Go!
Josh Norman stopped at the Oklahoma 48-yard line, down to 1:20 left in the first quarter. Our clock in the top of your screen a little bit off the official clock, which is now at 1:12.
Visited with Greg McMacken earlier today. I know the defensive coordinator from Texas Tech. We were together with the Seattle Seahawks. A really good guy, and had some great defenses while he was with the Seahawks. And when I was watching his film yesterday, the one thing that his defense does, they run to the ball, but they're very good at recognition. Whenever there's anything kind of like a reverse or any kind of screen like they just saw, everybody on the field recognizes and gets to it very quickly. 2nd and 14.
Hibble throwing down the field this time, complete, short of a first down to the Texas Tech 41 to Antoine Savage. Savage, the junior from Albany, Georgia, needs 5 receptions now to tie Eddie Hinton for #1 all-time in Oklahoma history in receptions.
And that's Hansen, the best cover guy, a junior college transfer that came in. The reason you don't hear a lot of him is he is the guy who shuts out the best receiver. But you could see there, Sean, how Hansen had to gather his feet underneath of him before he broke. Because of that wet turf, he couldn't get a true break on the ball.
It's going to be the end of the first quarter. These two high-flying offenses held in check. Just 1 field goal for each side. The 3-3 tie after 1. Texas Tech has not been nationally ranked since 1998. A win today, and they would most certainly jump back into the top 25. They're 6-3 overall, having won 4 of the last 5 since Greg McMacken and the defensive staff made wholesale changes following an upset loss here at home to Kansas in overtime. There were a number of key injuries in that game as well. Trick Kingsbury, Lawrence Flugents left the game. In the Big 12 today, Iowa State rolls at Kansas. Kansas State out of conference leads Louisiana Tech, and Oklahoma State is putting it on Baylor. The Bedlam series to conclude the regular season for Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. On 3rd down and short, a Cardinal sin by the Red Raiders. They're offside, and it doesn't matter that they sack Hibble. Aaron Hunt ran him down for a loss of 1, but it looked like Texas Tech was clearly offside, and that will give Oklahoma a first down.
And Kevin Curtis
jumping around the line of scrimmage.
The senior is not a mistake you would expect from him. As he came up to blitz, I know he's trying to time his blitz, but he's got to be very careful as he comes up. Run sideways. He was coming from outside.
On the defense. That's 5-yard penalty. Sufficient for a first down.
We talked about how young this defense is. This is not a young guy. All Big 12 last year. As he comes in, going sideways, he moves up and is not able to stop himself. That is a bad mistake by a senior.
A terrific player. Very smart player, uncharacteristic of Curtis. He's a hotel and restaurant management major. Says he'd like to own a hotel or a restaurant, or perhaps coach when he's done playing here at Texas Tech. This one right here in Lubbock. Another flag. Oklahoma, as you saw, penalized twice. Texas Tech 4 times.
The snap, delay. It's a 5-yard penalty and remains first down.
2 of the Red Raider penalties for delay of game. And now Oklahoma has done that as well.
I understand you want your quarterbacks to have some freedom, and Nate Hibble, although this is his first year as a starting quarterback, Bob Stoops and his staff talk about how bright he is and how well he's picked up this offense. But after a while, you have to just tell them, guys, once you get a play in, I understand these defenses are showing blitzes and backing out, but you just got to go with what's called and get the snap off.
Here comes a blitz. Hibble gets rid of it to Clayton. And Mark is fighting for extra yardage to the 29-yard line. Tackled by Kevin Curtis and Paul McClendon. Curtis was a quarterback in high school, wasn't highly recruited. Went to high school right down the road at Coronado here in Lubbock. And he says he'll always be grateful to the former head coach here, Spike Dykes, who gave him a chance to play college football at the highest level. Curtis has rewarded Coach Dykes and Red Raider fans with a terrific 4 years. He's second all-time in tackles here behind only Brad Hastings. The blitz. Hibble hit as he threw by Jonathan Hawkins. Pass was intended for Trent Smith, but a little bit short. And it'll be third down from the 24-yard line, 3rd down and 4.
Sean, that's an awfully big gap in the A-gap. You got a double team going on by the offensive lineman. The right guard, Mike Skinner, needs to come down instead of helping the right tackle Fields. He's got to come down when the back releases out of the backfield. There's nobody to pick up 47, Jonathan Hawkins. That's just a mistake by Oklahoma, and that's really the favorite blitz of Texas Tech. I can't believe that they didn't drill this all week, that the guard has to slide down into the A-gap.
Hibble under pressure, throws it off where Ronaldo works. He breaks a tackle. There's a flag down in the backfield. He might have put a late hit on the quarterback, Hibble. Jonathan Hawkins made the tackle. It is a first down if the play stands at the 20-yard line. He had a chance to get Works short of the first down yardage, but he avoided the tackle.
Flag on the play.
The referee threw the flag right at the feet of Hibble.
Personal foul, roughing the quarterback. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
Ryan Aycock didn't like the call.
Well, I can tell you that Greg McMackin, well, Sean, we couldn't see. We'll take another look at it. I don't know if they called it maybe because of the helmet going in, but it didn't look like it was that late by Kevin Curtis, unless they're talking about his helmet making contact. But that is not a rule like it's specified in the NFL. Although it is the official's job to protect the quarterback, that was not a late hit. The only thing I can think is they called Curtis because his helmet made contact under the chin of Nate Hibble.
Peyton Manning can tell you how much that hurts. Looks like a hit like that last week against Miami and fractured his jaw. A couple of key penalties against Curtis. Aycock was also involved in that play. First and goal from the 10-yard line. The ball right on the 10. They cannot get another first down without scoring. As it's created by a penalty. Movement again along the lines. Flags down again, and it's incomplete. Lofting it up for Mark Clayton was Hibble. Joselio Hansen had the coverage, but again, it looked like Texas Tech was across the line of scrimmage.
And a veteran move by Vince Carter, the true freshman for Oklahoma.
Offside, defense, 5-yard penalty, it remains first down.
Vince Carter, who's been starting since the Kansas State game. They put him in and he's really improved. And that time he saw Texas Tech in the neutral zone and went ahead and snapped the ball and gave Nate Hibble a chance to go ahead and try the fade into the corner of the end zone and not really have to worry about interception or anything. You can just go ahead and try to hit the big play.
You want to beat the number 3 team in the nation, the defending national champions. You can't take this many penalties. Texas Tech killing itself with the flags. Quentin Griffin on first down rather, from the 5. Was tackled by Mike Smith. Now to be second and goal from the 5.
Quentin Griffin is the guy that they love to use down inside the 10-yard line. 5'7", nearly 200 pounds. He's very powerful. Everybody remembers that great game he had against Texas last year. This year against Tulsa, he had 4 touchdowns on 4 consecutive drives. He's so effective. Maybe an option to the field with Hibble pitching it late to Quentin Griffin.
They're going to have to use a timeout. With the play clock under 10, they were still in the huddle. 12:22 left in the first half. A surprisingly low-scoring game in Lubbock. Sean McDonough, Ed Cunningham, Leslie Goodell in Lubbock, Texas. Oklahoma and Texas Tech tied at 3. Second and goal for the Sooners from the 5 after an Oklahoma timeout. 3 receivers to the left. The tight end Smith out to the right. Quentin Griffin, the lone back. Option look. Hibble wrapped up and taken down for a loss by Aaron Hunt.
And after a couple of bad plays by Kevin Curtis, where he jumped off sides, gave 5 yards, and then he hit Nate Hibble with his helmet and a spearing. This time, an excellent job. They've got the quarterback, and look at Curtis run with Quentin Griffin. That's fantastic football. A good job by Greg McMacken down inside the red zone, especially inside the 10. That's Oklahoma's favorite play.
Third and goal from the 8. Texas Tech averages 35 points per game. Oklahoma 34.4, but they're in a 3-3 tie in the second quarter. Hibble to the end zone, incomplete. Intended for Curtis Fagan, but too high. Rosalio Hansen, their best cover cornerback, had the coverage on Fagan. So Tim Duncan will come on to try to make it 10 consecutive field goals made.
Both of these defenses doing a fantastic job down inside the 10-yard line of making the offenses earn what they're doing. They're playing good defense. They're backing some people up so that it's just not free range. When Trent Smith was lined up wide right last time, they had great coverage on that.
On the left hash mark, a 25-yard field goal try for Duncan, and it is good. Oklahoma leads again with 11:32 left in the first half. It's 6-3.
Bob Stoops knows against this Texas Tech team that when they get down inside that red zone and their offense has a good drive up to that point, trading field goals is not a good choice against his old coaching mate Mike Leach, because Leach will start to find something that will work against Stoops' defense.
Let's check in with Leslie Goodell.
Well, Texas Tech has an added fan base this weekend, the UT Faithful. This is the sports section for the Austin American-Statesman. Holcomb Raiders and some of the players from the UT team made the trip up here. Among them, Major Applewhite to his right, Kyle Shanahan, Roy Williams is here. 6 players made the trip. Roy Williams from this area. Got tickets from some guys on the Tech team. The rest of the guys drove up. Roy flew up this morning. It was a 7-hour drive from Austin, but they're watching very carefully because they know a loss to Oklahoma today would be their best chance of getting into the Big 12 championship.
It certainly would. Not likely that Oklahoma would lose to Oklahoma State, with the Cowboys having a difficult season. So Texas needs some help here today. The Longhorns and Sooners finished tied. The Oklahoma victory head-to-head would be the difference and send the Sooners back to the Big 12 championship game. A high, short kickoff. Nehemiah Glover, who blocked the punt earlier, doing some jawing as he was taken down at the 23. Teams have been doing this more and more lately against Texas Tech, trying to kick the ball away from Ivory McCann. ABC Sports presentation of college football brought to you by Chrysler. Drive equals love. By Mutual of Omaha, providing insurance and financial services. And by Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Be you, nothing's better. Dr. Pepper.
Mike Leach has had a little bit of success. Kingsbury's played very well, very smart so far today. Everything's been underneath, and again, Oklahoma comes out with 2 safeties deep. I think they're very content to keep everything in the underneath crossing routes.
Go, let's go,
Pass thrown quickly by Kingsbury to Wes Welker. And he was banged out of bounds by Brandon Everidge, but a good gain on first down up to the 31-yard line. It picked up 8. It'll be 2nd down and 2.
In a game that's this tight, Texas Tech has been very good all year in the second quarter, and I think that says a lot about the head coach, Mike Leach. 119 to 37, they've outscored opponents because in that first quarter, Leach spends that time figuring out what is the game plan against his offense, and then he starts to find things that he likes and matchups that he knows he can exploit.
Fraction, that's a 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
Mike Leach and his staff very upset. They want an explanation for that flag.
Man, don't give a chance to match up, coach. You gotta have a chance to match up.
We're in the huddle. That was a fucking goal.
Don't think Mike Leach felt it was a good call.
Tell us how you really think, Mike.
Back at the 27-yard line. That's a swing pass to Mickey Peters, and Roy Williams runs him down. You give Roy that much time to get to the play, and he's going to get there. So the penalties continue to kill Texas Tech. Mike Leach still not very happy about the last one, which was the 7th flag against the Red Raiders. He had an instant reaction of disbelief.
That's one of the rules that actually the defensive coordinators, they're always complaining about rules being changed for the behalf of the offense, but that was a rule that the defensive coordinators were adamant about because they just don't want an advantage for the offense when they're trying to match their personnel with an extra guy inside the numbers.
Here comes a blitz. Lehman and Williams on the blitz. Kingsbury throws it up for grabs. Lucky to get away with that throw near the far sideline. So again, the penalty is a factor, and Texas Tech will have to punt.
Very similar blitz Oklahoma ran that time that we saw Texas Tech run against Oklahoma, and Teddy Lehman has great closing speed. The defensive coaches say that he may be the fastest linebacker to ever play at Oklahoma.
He's been timed at 4.4 in the 40. Curtis Fagan back for the punt from Clinton Greathouse. 4th down and 7. 10.5 minutes left in the first half. Good kick with the breeze at his back, very high, and Fagan again. It looked like a fair catch signal, and he runs it back to the 43-yard line. And the Texas Tech coaches questioning the officials again. The last time Fagan fielded a punt, it looked like he called for a fair catch.
As he was running to his left, Sean, he was using his left arm to move over there, and it looked like his hand might have got above his pad. I agree with you. I don't know that he was going to signal for it, but if you show anything with that hand waving in the air, the officials are supposed to take that as a fair catch signal.
51-yard punt, but a 22-yard return by Fagan. Let's go back and take another look at Fagan. Officials over conferring with Mike Leach right now. He wants an explanation.
He's just moving around, but that left hand's getting awfully high as he's trying to fall around. I can see with the fans, but kind of in between. But the officials are supposed to, if there's any kind of in between, if anything, throw a flag for an illegal fair catch signal.
And that's what Mike Leach is saying now. You saw him with 2 fingers, saying that's the 2nd time that's happened. He's still hot about the illegal substitution penalty as well. Mike's a very bright guy. He has more of a vocabulary than what we heard on the sideline. He went to law school at Pepperdine, has a master's in sports science. But that's not the trivia question today from Aflac. In Texas Tech history, there have been 6 400-plus yard passing games. Cliff Kingsbury has 4 of them. We want to know which quarterback had the other 2. And Texas Tech was just charged with a timeout, apparently because he was granted the audience from the referee, Randy Crystal. Mike Leach was charged with a timeout.
Obviously, Mike Leach has concern about why that penalty was called on the substitution, and that's something that the way they run their offense, they get their personnel in and off the field kind of differently than most teams. He wants to make sure, I'm sure that he wants to be absolutely positive that they can still do the things that they do.
Well, I'm going to guess on the trivia question. We saw earlier that Robert Hall is their all-time leader in career touchdown passes with 4 more than Kingsbury's 44. So I'm going to guess Robert Hall had the other 2 400-yard games.
Do I have to jump on your bandwagon? Because I think so too. I'm with you.
Have we given the folks at home enough time to answer it? Usually we wait like 3 quarters, and people have all kinds of time to consult their record books. Let's have the answer.
Get off the internet if you're at home.
The shortest Aflac trivia question ever. Which quarterback had the other 2 400-yard plus passing games here at Texas Tech? Hello? Billy Joe. That was the quickest answer.
Yes, it was.
Unless you were Evelyn Wood, you couldn't read his name. Billy Joe Tolliver. He's gone on to an NFL career. Out of the gun. Hibble swings it out. Griffin did a good job to stay on his feet. And he is swarmed under at the 47-yard line. Ryan Aycock and Joselio Hansen up from the secondary to make the stop.
A little bit of an adjustment this time for Oklahoma. You got 2 guys blitzing, and Quentin Griffin, instead of staying in to block, goes out in the swing. Earlier we saw Griffin stay in for max protection, and Hibble had nowhere to go with the ball. That time a nice wrinkle by Mark Mangino and Chuck Long to go ahead and change it up and get him out in the swing. Now you start to challenge Texas Tech. Say, if you want to blitz those A-gaps, you better be ready for one of our best receivers coming out of the backfield.
Receivers left and right, and Hibble is sacked. He faked the handoff on the end around, and Aaron Hunt dropped him for a huge loss back at the 36-yard line. A loss of 11. It'll be 3rd down and very long for Oklahoma.
And once again, it's the recognition of Texas Tech. They must work day in and day out on finding the ball. The fake handoff, a stunt was on the left side. And Romero, who had Hunt comes inside right there, drops in. Nobody blocks him, but an excellent job. He could have come off and run with the reverse fake or even run with Griffin, but excellent eyes by Aaron Hunt.
He has 24 career sacks. He trails Texas Tech's all-time leader, Monte Rager, by just 1.5 sacks. Rager now with the Denver Broncos. Hibble throws, caught by Clayton, but short of the first down. There's another flag down in the offensive backfield.
Looks like it might be another roughing the passer.
Personal foul, roughing the passer on the defense. A 15-yard penalty from the end of the run, automatic first down.
I believe they're going to get Adele Duckett, defensive end, for hitting Hibble late. And Sean, things need to start calming down. What is he thinking?
Yeah, that ball's
gone. You're on your feet. There's no reason to even put your hands on the quarterback. And you've been saying all along that if you want a chance to beat the number 3 team in the country, you can't do dumb things like this. They don't need to boo. That's the right call.
Adele Duckett, redshirt freshman from Mineral Wells, Texas.
Please stay off the black, okay?
He was guilty of the roughing the passer. Big penalty. It would have been a punting situation. Now it's 1st and 10 Oklahoma at the 37-yard line of the Red Raiders. This time Hibble did hand it off on the end around to Norman. And he's shoved out of bounds at the 32-yard line. Temper's a little short on all sides today. Kevin Curtis made the tackle on Norman.
A lot riding for both of these teams. Texas Tech trying to fight for a little better bowl position. Work their way into the Alamo or maybe the galleryfurniture.com.
Maybe so in the Holiday Bowl. The outside shot at that. They're the top Big 12 team that does not go to the BCS bowl game. Ray McMackin was upset with the officials as his head coach. 8 penalties against the Red Raiders here in the first half. 54 yards, a blitz. Hibble throws. Norman driven back and did well to hang on to the football. Forward progress to the 25-yard line. The 35-yard line, rather. A loss on the play of 2. Ryan Aycock with the reputation for being the big hitter, and he's demonstrated that a couple of times today.
And a great job by Aycock. Because the blitz is coming, he now has to go to the inside receiver. He squatted down. He was covering for the blitzer coming from the outside, Kevin Curtis. And an excellent job, again, of recognizing the little plays. That was a little wide receiver screen. Aycock covering for the man who blitzed. Great job by him.
Third down for Oklahoma. Hibble throws across the middle, caught. First down to the 25-yard line. Trent Smith. A gain of 10. Second catch of the game for Smith. Anthony Terrell had the coverage on the junior from Clinton, Oklahoma. He was quoted this week in an article in USA Today about tight ends, saying that he thinks now he represents what the prototype tight end is in college football. A guy about 220, 230 pounds who can block and catch with equal proficiency.
And that's what you're starting to see in the NFL. I mean, teams need to have that inside receiving threat, be it a slot receiver or a good running tight end.
And Griffin squirts through and picks up 9 down to the 16-yard line. Paul McClendon made the tackle. Looked like they might stop Griffin right near the line of scrimmage, but he found a seam, and it took McClendon, a safety, senior from Stamford, Texas, to make the stop. Coming up on the Capital One halftime show, John Saunders and Terry Bowden will bring you all of the scores and highlights from college football today. Or at least most of them. Second and 1. Oklahoma trying to add to a 6-3 lead. Griffin inside the 10 with a first down. Kevin Curtis made the stop. First and goal, Oklahoma from the 9.
Most coaches eventually will go back to their roots, and Mark Mangino, the offensive coordinator, who worked under Mike Leach that first year here, when he was at Kansas State, he was the run game coordinator. He's also the offensive line coach. So it's no surprise, Sean, when we talk to him about how this offense has evolved a little bit since Mike Leach left, is part of the running game. And of course, when you have a guy this talented, Quentin Griffith, you might as well hand it off to him a few times.
First and goal on a drive kept alive by roughing the passer penalty. Griffin tried the middle again, and he got chopped down by Jonathan Hawkins.
Quentin Griffin, the ball carrier, tackled on the play by number 51, Lawrence Fugins. Second down.
The toughest place to score for an offense in the red zone, the toughest down and distance, is first and goal from the 9-yard line. That time, Oklahoma tries a little bit of a draw, but really, I think what they need to look at is throwing something into the end zone, because you cannot pick up the first down, and the closer you get, the more bodies in that compacted area. Spread them out a little bit, have a couple of options, and maybe something in the back of the end zone for Hibble.
11th play of the drive, second and goal from the 9. Hibble throws toward the end zone. Touchdown, Chris Toney. First career touchdown for Toney, the sophomore from Choctaw, Oklahoma. He sat out last year as a transfer from Northwestern Oklahoma State University, where he's a starting linebacker on the 1999 NAIA National Championship team. Hibble had a lot of time as he avoided the rush. First touchdown of the game for either team. And Duncan's extra point makes it 13-3 Sooners with 5.5 left in the first half. Again, the penalties by Texas Tech, the key in this ball game. The roughing the passer penalty kept the touchdown drive alive. Well, the sun has come out here in Lubbock, and it is shining brightly on Chris Toney. He caught the 8-yard touchdown pass from Nate Hibble.
Linebacker one-on-one with Toney, makes a huge error. That's number 46, Mike Smith. No reason for him to be running up to go with Hibble, and as Hibble waved Toney back, Smith just lost track of the fullback, and that ball had to seem like it was in the air forever for the former linebacker. Those are very difficult catches when you're wide open in the end zone.
An 11-play drive. Tim Duncan will kick off. Last time they hit a sky kick to keep it away from Ivory McCann. And they do it again. Nehemiah Glover trying to run all the way across the field. Bounces off a couple of hits and is finally tackled from behind by Antoine Savage at the 24-yard line. Time now for our Chrysler drive summaries. The last 5 drives for Texas Tech, not impressive.
And they have just not, Sean, they had it moving on their first 2 possessions, and then they started making mistakes, penalties, jumping offsides, things of that nature. And against this defense, you know, although this is the 3rd statistically best defense in the country, a lot of people think because of the opponents that they've played that it is the best defense. But it's not panic time, only down 10. Just stay with what you're doing.
That's a lateral. Peters wants to throw it and does, up for grabs, and it is caught. Carlos Francis made the catch. Looked like a disaster waiting to happen for Tech as the lateral was almost batted out of midair. And then Peters, who was a high school quarterback and competed for a quarterback job here as a true freshman before he was moved to receiver, threw a pass right up for grabs under pressure.
Well, you can see that quarterback arm. He threw off his back foot. The linebacker that was coming underneath almost made the pick, and Peters is now 4 for 4 on his career on trick plays.
Now a screen for Ricky Williams. Read the block nicely. Down at the Oklahoma 40-yard line. Gain of 16 and another first down for Texas Tech.
What a great job by Matt Hyder. He's the left guard. Him and Ricky Williams are standing front to back there, but watch Hyder as he gets out in front and Williams gets his eyes around. An excellent block on the defensive back. That's Roy Williams, who had to keep contained, but Hyder, 6'5", 305 pounds, looked very athletic against one of the best defenders in the country.
6 catches today for Ricky Williams, 76 for the year. Here's another. First down, he's flying into the end zone, touchdown! With that catch, Ricky Williams just set the single-season reception record at Texas Tech, and he did it in style. 77th reception of the year, breaking the record 76 held by Lloyd Hill back in 1992.
And it all started with a great read by Kingsbury. He runs right through the defense. That's Matt McCoy, had the last shot on him, but it all started with a great job by Kingsbury, buying a little time and knowing he had a safety valve on the backside.
Robert Trace adds the extra point. That's the longest touchdown reception of Ricky Williams' career, 40 yards. And Tech is right back within 3, 13-10 with 4:23 left in the half. Raucous atmosphere here at Jones SBC Stadium in Lubbock, Texas. Sold out. These are notorious fans for being very vocal. Of course, 2 weeks ago when Tech shut out A&M, the fans ripped down the goalpost and attacked the A&M fans at the other end zone with the goalpost, touching off a melee. Great House with a great kick over the head of Savage and out of the end zone. So Oklahoma will begin at the 20 with a 3-point lead. Might be some cramping or hamstring issue for Ricky Williams, getting some work on the near sideline after his 40-yard touchdown reception.
What a great job by Texas Tech that time, using a little misdirection. They had Ricky Williams lined up over to the left. He snuck through the line, and nobody from Oklahoma saw him come out the other side. And Kingsbury, again, he's not the fastest guy out there, but he just does such a nice job of buying enough time to go back and let the defense come all the way over.
Able 14 out of 21 to this point, 103 yards passing and a touchdown. Trying to set up a screen for Griffin, and he's belted down by Jonathan Hawkins. What a first half for Hawkins, a senior from Wichita Falls, Texas, in his 6th year. He got an extra year of eligibility from the NCAA due to injuries.
Let's go back and remember that this offense that Oklahoma runs is the offense that Texas Tech, all during camp, all during spring practice, they see because of Mike Leach bringing it here to Texas Tech. So they get the benefit. Guys like Hawkins have seen that type of play over and over again and snuffing it out.
Inside handoff. Griffin. A couple of tackles. And made his way out to the 20, where Adele Duckett made the tackle. We'll talk about Jonathan Hawkins. He started his career here in 1996, redshirted. Then he played football and linebacker as a redshirt freshman in 97. Caught 4 passes that year against Oklahoma. Was a fullback again in 98, an honorable mention All Big 12. In 99, he was a reserve linebacker and special teams player in the first year under Mike Leach. Then last year he played 2 games and broke his ankle. Appealed for a 6th year of eligibility and was granted it by the NCAA. And here he is with 7 tackles in the first half. 4-man rush on 3rd and 10. Hibble in trouble, throws it up for grabs to the near sideline and out of bounds. Again, it was Aaron Hunt putting the pressure on Hibble. And he's been a going concern here in the first half of his Red Raider defense.
And it was pressure that made Hibble a chance to pick up this first down. A great job by the 4-man rush. Aaron Hunt is so good off the edge. 260 pounds, runs a 4.5. Going up against Romero, he has been a handful today.
Jeff Ferguson to punt. Wes Welker at his own 37. Again, pressure on the punter, and they hit him. A flag down. Welker. And a flag down for an illegal block on the return. And Welker banged out of bounds. Ferguson still down. Will it be roughing or running into the kicker?
Well, Sean, I was watching him the whole way. It looked like they were going to get another block. This is going to be roughing. It will be a first down for Oklahoma. And I know that Texas Tech felt like they had a free run at the punter, but Ferguson is so good. Most punters focus in on that ball so hard they can't feel the rush, but Ferguson, a lot like a quarterback, can feel the rush and knows when to hurry up his get off. Did a very nice job of getting that ball off.
Damian Chandler hit him and hit him hard. There were also 2 flags down for illegal blocks on the return.
Watch how quickly Ferguson gets this ball off, because that's a free run by Chandler. Sean, he had a bad angle into the ball. When you work special teams and blocking the punter, you've got to go to where his foot is going to end up. So as you clear your blocker, you have to start rounding off so that you run right in front of the punter. That was just a mistake by Chandler. As he came in, he didn't round off enough.
If it was going to be roughing it, I don't think they'd be having this long a conversation, because it wouldn't matter what happened on the return.
Right.
And it did look like Chandler hit him hard, but he seemed to be pulling up a little bit at the end. He just ran into the outstretched leg. It wasn't like he gave him a shot in the head or anything. 3 flags on the field at the 38-yard line and the 1 back of the 9-yard line.
Multiple fouls on the play. We have a personal foul.
It is roughing
the kicker, Texas Tech. During the run back, we have an illegal block in the back against Texas Tech. The penalty that will be accepted is the personal foul, roughing the kicker, previous spot, 15-yard penalty, and an automatic first down.
Well, why'd they have all that conversation then about the block on the return? I mean, that doesn't factor in if it's just take the roughing penalty and let's go. These officials have had a tough day, and it's actually been a tough couple of weeks in the Oklahoma games that we've had here on ABC for the Big 12 officiating crews.
Easy call by the official, but you're right, Sean. I mean, there's no decision to be made. It's an automatic first down, or Texas Tech gets the ball if they accept the block in the back. I don't understand why that would take so long.
9 penalties, 69 yards, a couple of them huge, including that one. The roughing the passer penalty kept an Oklahoma drive alive last time Oklahoma had the ball, and they wound up scoring a touchdown. Griffin takes the short pass and runs it out to the 39, a gain of 4. Lawrence Flugents made the tackle. New leading tackler for the season with 118. Coming in, he's a junior from Klein, Texas, near Houston, where he grew up a big Oiler and Warren Moon fan.
You say a fan of face paint as well. Looks like he's got his Halloween get up on.
2nd and 6. Sooners at their own 39. 2 minutes left in the half. Hibble didn't have an open man in the flat on the left, so now he runs out of bounds. About a yard short of the first down. Aaron Hunt was around his ankles along the near sideline. It'll be 3rd down and 1. Time for our Pacific Life game summary. The penalties, a key. Roughing the passer. And they would have had to punt, kept this drive alive. And Hibble found Chris Toney for the touchdown. And then the Tech touchdown. 77th catch of the year for Ricky Williams. Longest of the year. 40 yards. The short pass from Kingsbury. That made it 13-10. Now a roughing the kicker penalty has kept this Oklahoma possession alive. 3rd down and 1, the option. Hibble keeps it, has the first down. Another tackle for Jonathan Hawkins, but it's a gain out to the 48. 1st down, Oklahoma.
A lot of people wonder why Oklahoma, with only one quarterback with experience in Nate Hibble, his backup is a redshirt freshman, Hunter Wall, would be running the option play. But this is something that Mark Mangino installed in the offense when Mike Leach left. In this conference, they feel like they have to have that because of how good the defenses are and how well they can rush off the edge. It slows down that outside rush just a little bit.
4-man rush. Hibble with a lot of time. Threw over the head of Norman. 1 timeout left for Oklahoma and 2 for Texas Tech. Next Saturday, ABC Sports Thanksgiving Feast continues. It's presented by Siemens. Saturday's action features 2 stellar games in prime time at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. The highly anticipated rematch of Washington and number 2 Miami. Some of you will see the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame take on number 9 Stanford next Saturday here on ABC. 2nd and 10. Quick pass by Hibble to Norman. And he's dropped for no gain, maybe even a loss of a yard. Jonathan Hawkins having one of the best halves of football of his career. He was in on that stop.
And Sean, a play that, you know, it's tough to pick up a 1st down, and now you put yourself as Oklahoma. Texas Tech may want to start considering, if they're going to be at about midfield, of using their timeouts to try to save a little bit to their offense.
Maybe they stop him on this play. The way it's been going, they're trying to call a timeout before the ball was snapped. Here comes the blitz. Hibble makes several tackles and goes down at the line of scrimmage. So the Red Raiders coaches happy they didn't get the timeout called before the snap. Now they do call a timeout with 42 seconds officially left in the half. Adele Duckett, who was guilty of that costly roughing the passer penalty on the touchdown drive for Oklahoma, took down Hibble at the line of scrimmage.
Boy, Kevin Curtis, a very physical safety, just ran right by Quentin Griffin, who tried to come up and block him. Flew just does a nice job of staying on the quarterback, dropping back. And you're right, Sean, Texas Tech obviously trying to get a timeout. They were calling everything. Very happy they didn't waste it right there on that big play.
So each team with 1 timeout left. 42 seconds left in the half. Lots of passing, as you would expect, between these 2 teams. And Oklahoma's had the ball more. 20 minutes, nearly 21 minutes in time of possession to 8 minutes and change for Texas Tech. So they have thrown the ball more, but they've had the ball by better than a 2-1 advantage in time of possession.
And you wonder about that time of possession without those penalties giving 1st downs. I mean, it seems every penalty that Texas Tech makes just makes the drive longer for Oklahoma. They're either punting or they're on 3rd and long situations, and they give them the opportunity to keep the ball.
Not a very deep defense for Texas Tech either. They could tire in the 2nd half, while Oklahoma has a lot of offensive weapons that can run in and out. Next Saturday is part of that Saturday ABC Sports Thanksgiving Feast presented by Siemens. A collision of 2 Big Ten teams. One of the great rivalries in college football, Ohio State at the Big House to take on Marquise Walker in Michigan. Next Saturday at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here on ABC. 4th down, and it is Ferguson back to punt. So he recovered quickly after being roughed moments ago. Wes Welker back for the punt at his own 10-yard line. Booming punt into the end zone. And we'll see how the Red Raiders play it with 34 seconds left in the half and 1 timeout. Texas Tech down by 3 points.
Well, you figure coming out to the 20-yard line that Mike Leach will go ahead and try to move the ball down the field. But Sean, what they've been doing, because the way Oklahoma's been playing defense, very short underneath stuff. You got to be careful. Something short underneath that gets tackled in the middle of the field make you waste your last timeout. So they're going to have to try to get some balls down the field near the sideline, and then the little swing passes to Ricky Williams so that if he gets out there, he can get out of bounds.
On their last possession, Tech scored a touchdown on just 3 plays. They went 76 yards on gains of 20, 16, and 40 for the touchdown. Taking many shots down the field. Typical of their offense. A lot of passes like this one. Ricky Williams ended right away by Derek Strait. And it looks like both teams will be content to let the half end. Red Raiders not in any hurry.
Looked like they were going to try to take a shot downfield, but Oklahoma rushed 4, dropped 7, had everything covered.
Just go ahead. Many mistakes as Tech has made in this half. You think they would be content just to go off the field down by 3. Kingsbury goes into a slide. The crowd thought he took a late hit. And Jimmy Wilkerson, there was no flag, and it's halftime. And given that his team was penalized 9 times, Mike Leach has to feel pretty good about the way things went in the first half. He's down by only 3 to the number 3 team in the nation. Here's Leslie with Bob Stoops.
Coach, well, your thoughts on the first half going in? It's kind of a tight one at this point.
Sure. Defensively, we got 3 bad plays the whole half. They put together a drive on some screens and they made some plays. But other than that, we've been pretty strong defensively. Offensively, terribly inconsistent. Need to get more going there.
You said the same thing last week against Texas A&M. You guys came out in the second half very strong. What sort of adjustments do you make today?
Well, same thing. We offensively just need to settle down. We've got plays that are there. We just need to execute them better.
Thanks, Coach.
At halftime, Oklahoma leads Texas Tech 13-10. We'll join John Saunders and Terry Bowden with the Capital One halftime report right after this.
College Game Day, Thursday nights at 7 on ESPN.
The Capital One Halftime Show, presented by Capital One, who asks, what's in your wallet? From Times Square Stadium in New York, John Saunders and Terry Bowden.
Welcome back to Times Square and the Capital One Halftime Show. John Saunders alongside of Terry Bowden, and we know Nebraska and Miami right now unbeaten teams, but there are some one-loss teams still waiting in the wings. You, of course, thinking of Oklahoma, Florida, Texas, and Tennessee. Tennessee with what they thought would be a tune-up today against Kentucky. It was a lot tougher than that. Casey Clausen, 39 yards to Dante Stallworth. Tennessee grabs their first lead of the game at 35-28. Jared Lorenzen comes back, though. 62 yards to Anthony Kelly. And Kentucky has tied this again at 35 apiece. It comes down to kicker Alex Wall.
Well, Tennessee was just asleep. Just thought this was a warm-up for the Florida game on December 1, but Jared Lorenzen gave him something else to think about. Almost beat him in the second half.
He almost came back here due to Chase Hart, who's hit, fumbles, and that's what seals it. Tennessee would get the ball back and run the clock down. Casey Clausen, 20 of 30, 285 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So this team a one-loss team, but coming off this game and looking ahead to Florida.
Well, I like the offensive firepower they'll need to play an upcoming team like Florida, but their defense really looks suspect today against a passing team like Florida.
Yeah, Lorenzen had 406 yards. That tells the story right there. Illinois and Ohio State, both these teams in the hunt for the Big Ten championship. Kurt Kittner, 37 yards to Walter Young. touchdown. Illinois is up 14-10. Craig Krenzel in at quarterback. Throws 17 yards to Michael Jenkins, touchdown. Two-point conversion was no good, so a 5-point game. And then Krenzel deep in his territory, picked off by Ty Myers, who returns at 5 yards for the touchdown. Ohio State, had they won and then beaten Michigan, would have had a Big Ten title.
Yeah, but Kirk Kittner, he's the best quarterback in the Big Ten. This is the 4th straight comeback they've had for Illinois. You can see how it hurt them that Steve Belisari was out.
18 of 28, 274 yards and a couple of touchdowns for Kittner, so they're still in the hunt with Michigan for the title. Clemson in South Carolina, Lou Holtz has not beaten Clemson. Derek Watson, 6 yards in this touchdown run. South Carolina grabs their first lead of the game at 10-9. Woody Dantzler, though, picked off in the end zone by Sheldon Brown, and that's the way things would go the rest of the game. That was late in the second quarter. Corey Jenkins, 2 yards for this touchdown, and South Carolina gets the win.
Well, both of these teams were banged up, with South Carolina a little more powerful in the running game, whereas Clemson's got to beat Duke to be bowl eligible this year.
Phil Petty, 14 of 23, 152 yards and an interception. You see the numbers on Dantzler, but the numbers under his team at 5-5 are the ones that really stand out. Georgia Tech and Wake Forest. Wake Forest got it going a little bit. George O'Leary, head coach of Tech, a little leery on this one. George Godsey, 47 yards to Will Glover. And Georgia Tech, wide open, busts the tie, 31-24. Jonathan Smith then, 22 yards on this touchdown run, as Wake Forest had it going a little bit at 5-5 right now, but can't survive. Tech 38-33. Godsey 20 of 27, 267 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Well, he was nearly perfect, but it was Georgia Tech's defense, the best defense in the ACC, that held Wake Forest's rushing attack way down low.
Georgia and Ole Miss. Ole Miss, their first game since the 7 overtime game. Eli Manning picked off by Jermaine Phillips, who returns this thing 82 yards for the touchdown. Georgia gets only 93 yards set of passing out of their starting quarterback and still win this one 35-15.
Well, you know, Ole Miss has been weak on defense, not very strong up front, gave up Georgia's rushing game, just totally dominated the game.
Manning threw 47 times, completed 35 for 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the INT in the loss. James, almost 200 yards. Indiana and Penn State, there's Joe Pa. That's the way his team had looked earlier in the season, going nowhere, but suddenly Penn State has it a little bit. Matt Seneca, 37-yard shovel pass to Larry Johnson. Penn State comes up with a 28-14 win. They finish the season at Michigan State, at Virginia, and Terry, a team that started 0-4, win those games, and they're likely going to a bowl.
Incredible what Joe Paterno's done with his best turnaround jobs probably of his career. With Zach Mills out, though, Matt Seneca proved he's a good quarterback.
Yeah, 278 yards, that a career high with 1 touchdown, 1 interception. This is the Capital One halftime show from Times Square here in New York.
Every Wednesday night from 9 to 11 is Wednesday Night College Football. It's Game of the Night, only on ESPN Classic. Classic rivalries. Classic legends. Classic bowl.
The Snake does it again. Touchdown, Nebraska.
The only place to be for the greatest games in college football is ESPN Classic. Wednesday Night College Football. Every Wednesday night from